Okay, hi everyone. Today we will be starting with another chapter, that is microorganisms and food preservation. Alright, microorganisms, that are organisms at a very small size. We call them micro. Micro means small scale, small. These can only be viewed through microscopes. Okay, these are organisms that are living, but they are very small to be seen with the normal eye. Okay, and food preservation, that we save our food from these microorganisms. Okay, how we do it and what goes in this world, I will teach you everything. So what are microorganisms? Microorganisms are tiny living organisms that are not visible to the naked eye. What do I mean by naked eye? I cannot, there might be some microorganisms on my table right now, but I can't see them. Why? Because they are not visible to the normal eye. They are very small to be seen. So they are seen by a microscope, hence microorganisms. They are as small as 10 to the power minus 6 nanometer. So you know how this number looks like. 1, 2, 3 meter. Okay, so they would look like 0.00000001 meter. Imagine this small, very small. They exist in various habitats. What do you mean by habitats? Every organism has its habitat. Alright, that the place where it lives. So my habitat is city. Okay, for a lion his habitat is the jungle, his den. Okay, places where he can get food, water, where he can live, that is habitat. So what is the habitat of a microorganisms? They are present everywhere, in the air, in the water, in the soil. Soil means the mud. Alright, they are present everywhere, and inside living organisms. There are a lot of microorganisms inside our body as well as we speak. Alright, so in our gut, in our intestines, in our stomach, we still have some microorganisms inside our body. Okay, some good, some bad, but they are present everywhere on this earth, even the places you can't think of. So like in the polar ice caps, okay, in very cold conditions, microorganisms are still there. In dusty areas, in deserts, microorganisms are still there. In rainy areas, in most places, microorganisms will be present. So air, water, soil, and living organisms, inside organisms. They can be found in extreme environments such as hot springs. Imagine a hot spring, very hot, in which we don't want to go. Microorganisms will be present. Deep sea, we can find microorganisms in very deep inside the sea as well. Okay, hydrothermal vents, even inside the human body. So let me give you an example. You see this bread over here, this has mold over it. Mold, it is called bread mold. It is a fungus. Okay, it is a microorganism, and these are present on the bread over here. This looks like this when we see up close. These are all microorganisms. This is all a microorganism. Okay, they are present in very cold conditions, in very hot conditions, in very harsh conditions. Now we come to major groups of microorganisms. Now, so many microorganisms around this earth, we have divided it into based on their population. So for humans, consider we are divided for someone who's Indian, someone who's Chinese, someone who's American, someone who's British, someone who's Middle Eastern and all that. We have divided back microorganisms as well based on what they do, how they look, what is their function, how they can be killed, how they can be used. we have divided it into 5 major groups of microorganisms. What do you mean by major groups? Major groups means that broadly these 5 are microorganisms. Alright, maybe there may be more, some minor groups as well, but these are the major ones that we care about right now for studying. So bacteria, first one is bacteria. You might have heard about bacteria in commercial ads. When they're selling soap, they all talk about bacteria. Alright, bacteria is a single celled organism. What does a single celled organism mean? That it has only one cell, like amoeba. Okay, they can be found almost everywhere. Almost everywhere. Now consider this a broad term. This can be found everywhere. Everywhere. Okay, there is no place that you can't find bacteria. Okay, inside you there is bacteria as well. Alright, some good bacteria, some bad bacteria. Everywhere we go, we find bacteria. They have various shapes. Okay, so this is bacteria. They have various shapes, including spherical, this rod shaped, that is called bacilli. Okay, bacilli. This is cocci, and spiral, spiralia. So they come in spherical, circular, they come in rod shaped, they come in spiral. Okay, these shapes, these 3 shapes are of cells, that is bacteria, and they have a rigid cell wall. They have a cell wall. Okay, so there is an outer harsh covering that is of bacteria, and remember it is a single celled organism, only one cell present. Now we come to fungi. What is fungi? Fungi are multicellular organisms. The main difference we can spot here itself. Single celled is bacteria, multicellular means fungi. So fungus has a lot of cells. Alright, not just one cell, many cells. And this fungus includes molds, like I told you. I showed you a picture of a bread having mold. Yeast, all the bakery products use yeast. Alright, yeast is also fungus. Mushrooms, we've all seen mushrooms, right? They obtain nutrients by decomposing organic matter. So if you see in nature, I'll tell you, in jungles, what happens if supposedly an organism or an animal dies. Okay, its body will be on the floor, it will decompose, all the agents of the nature will decompose it, microorganisms, ants, insects and all. One major microorganism involved in decomposing, without which there will be a lot of problem in nature, there will be no continuation of life, is fungi. Okay, so mushrooms always grow on dead and decaying matter. Alright, dead and decaying means on a dead animal's body. Alright, on the part of the jungle where someone has, some animal has died or is decomposing. So these are fungi. They obtain nutrients by decomposing organic matter. So what this does is, it will decompose the dead and decaying organic matter. Okay, it will break it down and grow himself. Okay, they have no chlorophyll. Funguses have no chlorophyll. Okay, what does no chlorophyll means? That means they cannot do photosynthesis. Okay, they are not green in color. They do not require carbon dioxide and then they will produce food. Fungus do not have chlorophyll. For example of some funguses are Rhizopus, Penicillium, yeast. All these are useful bacteria. Okay, useful funguses. Useful funguses, why? Because they help humans in a lot of things. Consider if there is no fungus. Do you think that nature will be able to survive? No, because when some animal dies, it is the responsibility of the fungus to use that organic matter and produce itself, so that there is continuation of life. The nutrients are absorbed by the soil, right, and used to make more plants, more trees. So this is how life cycle continues. Now if there is no fungi, this will not continue. We come to protozoa. Protozoa are single celled organisms. Again, they are single celled, found in water and soil. So protozoa, I will show you the pictures of all of these. Protozoa is found in water and in soil. Okay, not in air, in water and in soil. They are capable of movement and can be parasitic. They are capable of movement and can be parasitic or free living. So parasitic means they will attach themselves to an animal or a body and they will derive its food from that body. Okay, like for example, a mosquito has protozoa inside it. Okay, what will it do? It will suck our blood. Okay, it will derive its nutrients from a host plant or animal, and then it will continue living. Also it can do it himself, free living. Okay, but they can move. Okay, they can move. Protozoa is capable of moving. Rest of these microorganisms are not capable of moving. They will move when something moves them, but it is free living. Protozoa is free living, so it can move itself. Single celled with animal like traits. So protozoa is something that has animal like traits. It will hunt, it will get its nutrition from something else. Alright, it is capable of movement, but it is very small, so that we can't even see it, but it is present in water and soil and it is single celled. Now we come to algae. Have you ever gone to a river side and seen that greenish part which we in Hindi call kai? Alright, that is algae, that green things inside under the rocks. Alright, whenever it rains we see algae. Okay, this algae is photosynthetic. Okay, that means algae is green because it contains chlorophyll. Alright, it contains chlorophyll and it is photosynthetic, so it will take sunlight and it will produce food for itself through chlorophyll. Algae is mostly found near and inside water bodies. Okay, they are responsible for oxygen production and form the base of the food chain in aquatic ecosystem. So I'll tell you what, algae is eaten by very little tiny aquatic organisms. So very tiny fish, tadpoles, frogs, all these, they eat algae. Okay, and in turn bigger fish eat them, and then bigger fish eat that bigger fish, and we humans eat that fish. Okay, so algae is something that that provides the base for all aquatic ecosystems. Okay, it is the smallest thing that can be consumed. For example, Spirogyra. Okay, Spirogyra. So again, algae is a photosynthetic microorganism. They are responsible for oxygen production. So they also increase the oxygen level inside the aquatic ecosystem. So inside rivers, inside sea. Okay, for other aquatic organisms. Also, they are eaten by other aquatic organisms. Viruses. Viruses are non-living particles. Okay, viruses are not living, that can infect host cells and replicate within them. So what viruses do is pretty interesting. A virus has a very harsh coating outside. Okay, it has a very harsh coating outside, very thick and harsh, and whatever you try, it will not destroy. Okay, it is designed in such a way that to withstand all the harsh conditions. But when this virus goes inside favorable conditions, for example, it goes inside a human, it goes inside me, this outer wall will break. Okay, and this will come out and replicate itself. Okay, it will replicate itself, it will spread. Alright, so viruses infect the host. All viruses require a host. What is the host? In which it will replicate, it will multiply, it will grow. Okay, they are responsible for many diseases in humans, animals and plants. So viruses are something that are responsible for a lot of diseases in us humans. The recent one you can know is COVID-19. Alright, the coronavirus. Okay, it was also a virus. Viruses can survive in this environment under heat or water or very harsh conditions in wind. And when conditions become favorable, when they go inside a human body or an animal or any favorable condition, that outer covering will break and it will multiply, and that will harm the host. Now we come to various pictures of what I have taught you about. So this is a fungi. A mushroom is a fungi. Where is it growing? Supposedly this log is fallen, it is decaying. Okay, it is getting broken down. It has fallen from a tree. Now it is dying. A mushroom will grow over here. Supposedly some animal has died. A mushroom will grow near that because it is converting the dead and decaying matter into food. This is protozoa. Okay, this is protozoa. This is capable of moving in places. Okay, this is protozoa. Over here we can see algae. Alright, over this picture we can see algae. You might be seeing me over here, but you can see this picture. This part is algae. And this part is viruses. Now we come to beneficial microorganisms. What are beneficial microorganisms? So now we know what microorganisms are, how they function, on what terms they live, what is happening to them. Alright, now we come to how does it benefit us humans? Otherwise it is just something that should be avoided. Alright, but no, microorganisms also benefit us. Alright, they give us a lot of benefits. Have you eaten dahi, curd, yogurt? All that is made through a bacteria called lactobacillus, which converts milk into curd. So we add this bacteria to milk. Okay, if you ask your mothers, you will find that she takes a little bit of dahi, a little bit of curd, she adds milk to it, she stores it outside overnight, and the next day we have a lot of curd. That milk has been converted into curd. How did this happen? This is due to the presence of this bacteria, lactobacillus. Okay, this converted that milk into curd. We add this lactobacillus to idlis as well and in bhaturas to make them soft and spongy. Okay, so what lactobacillus does is it makes something soft and spongy. It will make the milk into curd. Alright, that khattapan is from this bacteria. It is beneficial for us because lactobacillus can be consumed by us and it will not harm us. Okay, dough. Now we come to dough. What is dough? Have you seen atta? Okay, now when your mom or anything, that flour or atta is mashed into a dough. Okay, we make dough of many things, not just of flour. Dough is something made of maida, corn flour or anything. Now for bakery products also there is a dough made. Alright, we add yeast, Y-E-A-S-T, yeast to the dough, and this in turn releases a lot of carbon dioxide. Yeast is a fungus. Okay, when it is added to dough, it releases a lot of carbon dioxide, which in turn makes it fluffy. Alright, fluffy, soft, spongy during cellular respiration. So what happens is yeast when added to dough, it will release carbon dioxide, it will have a combustion, it will have some respiration, cellular respiration at cell level. The bubbles of this gas, that is carbon dioxide, that is released, fills the dough, alright, and increases volume. Okay, it increases the volume. So if it was this much dough, it is now this much, and are released through pores, making it soft. Released through pores, making it soft. Okay. So for example, you want a cake that is soft, we don't want a cake that is hard, and we see in a cake there are little pores in the bread. Why is that so? Due to yeast. That carbon dioxide has escaped through those pores. Okay, that has made it soft and fluffy. Now we come to cheese. What is cheese? We all consume cheese in pizzas and bread and whatnot. It is produced by curding of milk. It is produced by curding of milk. Cottage cheese is produced using Streptococcus lactis. Okay, this is also a bacteria that is used to make cheese, cottage cheese like paneer and all, and the name of the bacteria is Streptococcus lactis. Antibiotics. What are antibiotics? So whenever you fall ill, okay, your mom or a doctor advises you to take antibiotics. What are antibiotics? Antibiotics, these are chemicals produced by microbes. So maybe some bacteria or some microorganism will produce these antibiotics to kill or stop the growth of disease caused by microorganisms. So for example, if I have a bacterial infection inside me, okay, the doctor will advise me to consider taking antibiotics. Why? Antibiotics, these are chemicals, okay, which are also produced by some bacteria, okay, in response to diseases. All right, so antibiotics will go inside me and they will kill the bacteria causing that disease inside me. It will give me immunity. It will help my body fight that disease. All right, and that disease is also produced by a microorganism like a bacteria. Okay, in humans and animals, example, penicillin. Penicillin is an antibiotic which was discovered by Alexander Fleming. Remember the name. Who discovered penicillin? That is Alexander Fleming. Penicillin is also an antibiotic, which I'll tell you, before antibiotics there was a lot of deaths due to bacterial infection. Then someone, Alexander Fleming, he came up with antibiotics. He found out that these chemicals that are produced by some microorganisms, these will help in destroying diseases. It will help in curing people. So penicillin, a penicillin shot gives you antibodies so that your body can fight that disease. Vaccines. What are vaccines? They give immunity against a certain disease. So when we are all young, okay, I got a measles vaccine, I got chickenpox vaccine, so that these are given to a young an infant, a child that is born, so that it might not get a disease later on. We got a COVID vaccine. All right, so these vaccines, what are they? Okay, these vaccines are containing dead and weakened microorganisms. So what will happen is, to make a vaccine, I will require that virus or bacteria or anything that is causing the disease. I will put it in some animal, all right, or maybe I will test it on various animals, humans and all. Okay, now the antibodies that are produced, I will see how that I can fluctuate the structure of that disease, of that microorganisms, okay, of that disease, so that it will help my body produce antibodies against it. All right, so like COVID vaccine was tested a lot of times until they found a proper vaccine without any side effects that gives us immunity against the disease. So they give immunity against a certain disease. It consists of dead and weakened microorganisms. They will take a weakened version of that disease, okay, a weakened virus, a weakened bacteria. They do it in the lab. They weaken that microorganism so that it will not harm you, but your body will know that a microorganism has entered, and your body will produce antibodies against it, so that when an actual microorganism attacks you, the actual virus attacks you, you already have antibodies to fight it, okay, which when entered into a healthy body will produce suitable antibodies to fight and kill them. So for example, for COVID, they took a COVID sample from an infected patient. They weakened that virus using chemicals, okay, they put it inside, and this is the vaccine, okay, this is a vaccine, that weakened shot, okay, they put in the vaccine and your body produces antibodies. So for example, when COVID was around, the vaccine shot showed some symptoms on certain patients, some fever or something. Why? Because that is also a virus, but in a very weak state, that it will not infect you, it will not make you unwell to that extent, but your body will produce antibodies against it, okay. Now we come to cleaning of environment. Some microbes decompose harmful and degradable substances in the environment, like dead plants and animals. So what do microorganisms do? They, like fungus and all, they decompose. What do you mean by decompose? They degrade those dead and decaying parts, okay, harmful and toxin parts, into simple parts, okay, so that it can be absorbed by the soil, absorbed by the nature. So some microbes decompose harmful and degradable substances in the environment, the big environment, like dead plants and animals. So supposedly in the jungle, some animal has passed away or some insect has passed away. Now it has to be degraded, it has to be absorbed by the soil. So what would happen? Microorganisms will do that. They convert them into simple compounds to be absorbed. Cleaning of environment. Now we come to beneficial organisms. A is decomposition, okay. Now another benefit is decomposition. Like I told you, bacteria and fungi break down dead organisms and organic matter, returning the nutrients to the environment. Throughout an animal's life, he eats food, he grows, he reproduces, he has gained a lot of nutrients. Now when that animal dies, those nutrients go back to the nature through the soil, okay. This role is played by the microorganisms. So the next part is nitrogen fixation. What is nitrogen fixation? Certain bacteria such as rhizobium, I told you rhizobium, convert atmospheric nitrogen into a form that plants can use, enriching the soil. What happens is, in this fixation, there is a lot of nitrogen present in the atmosphere, 71%, mostly it is nitrogen, okay. So some bacteria has this property, it is present in the roots, that it will take that nitrogen, okay, and it will convert it in a form that the plant can use, okay, so that the plant can use into, so this bacteria is rhizobium. Always remember rhizobium, rhizobium, rhizobium. This is very nutritious for the soil, okay. This will help the plant grow a lot. Nitrogen is used to make fertilizers, and if this bacteria can help convert the nitrogen in the atmosphere into some useful products, then it is very well. Now food production. Microorganisms are also used in food production. So microorganisms are used in production of various foods, alright, including bread, yogurt, cheese and fermented beverages. So for example, I told you bread, yeast, yogurt, the curd, lactobacillus and cheese, Okay, and fermented beverages. What are fermented beverages? Those beverages that require fermentation to be done. So for example, chach and all those milk products that we use, okay, that also has fermentation done. That is done through microorganisms. Medicine. Many antibiotics such as penicillin are derived from microorganisms and they help fight bacterial infections like I told you. Now we come to harmful microorganisms. What are harmful microorganisms? Microorganisms can also be harmful. They cause diseases in humans, plants and animals. We studied the beneficial parts of microorganisms. Now we study the harmful parts of microorganisms. Alright, they cause diseases inside humans. They cause a lot of diseases. So what happens is, microorganisms such as bacteria that include Salmonella, Escherichia coli, these are some names, alright, you need not remember, but some bacteria, viruses like influenza, HIV, it is important, fungi, can cause illness in humans. So bacteria, fungus and virus, these can cause illnesses in humans. What type of viruses? Influenza and HIV. Fungus includes Candida. Salmonella is a bacteria. These are examples of microorganisms that are producing diseases in humans. They go inside, they derive their food from us and they produce diseases. Okay, they make us ill. Disease causing in plants and animals. So microorganisms like bacteria, fungus, viruses can cause diseases in plants as well. Plants, imagine every living organism can be infected. Okay, so plants and animals can also be infected. Other than humans, plants and animals are also infected. So for example, there is a sick cow, there is a sick animal, okay, leading to reduced yield and economic losses. So what happens is, supposedly a farmer grows a lot of crop, okay, if he does not do the correct preventive measures, his crop can get microorganisms and diseases and this will harm the crop. It will lead to a lot of loss for the farmer. Even for animals, for example, someone who has a lot of cows, he is into the milk producing business. If the cows catch diseases, they will die. Okay, so you have to be sure that they are healthy. Okay, so tobacco mosaic virus. There is virus in the tobacco plant. It is called tobacco virus. Tobacco mosaic virus. It is not present in all tobacco plants, but this is the name of the disease that can happen through viruses to the tobacco plant. So again, Xanthomonas is a bacterial disease on plants. Okay, Phytophthora, these are funguses that affect plants and animals. Okay, what happens? It leads to less yield, means less milk will be produced if the cow is sick. Less crop will be produced if the crop is unwell. Okay, and this leads to a lot of money losses. Now we come to harmful microorganisms. We study a lot of diseases that are caused in humans. Which microorganism causes that disease? How is it spread? What can we do to prevent it? Okay, so first one is tuberculosis. What is tuberculosis? Tuberculosis is a disease that is caused by bacteria. Okay, we call it TB. It is mode of transmission is air. So tuberculosis transports through air. How can we prevent it? We keep the patient in complete isolation. So what is happening? It is a communicable disease. What is a communicable disease? It can spread. So if there is a person who is suffering from tuberculosis and a healthy person is in close proximity with that person, and this person who was sick is breathing, is sneezing, okay, is talking, so that microorganism will be able to travel through his mouth through the air to the patient. So we keep the patient in complete isolation. Keep the patient in complete isolation. Okay, we do not let him interact with anyone. Now the next disease is measles. Okay, what is measles? In India, technically everyone is right now vaccinated against measles. Why? Because of vaccination drives done by government. Measles is a virus. Okay, it is spread by virus. Mode of transmission is air. It is spread through the air. How do we prevent this transmission? We keep the personal belonging of the patient away from healthy beings. So one thing is to keep the patient away. Another thing is to keep the belongings like his food, alright, his tiffin, his bed sheets, his pillow, his things that he's using, his mobile phone, all these away from that of a healthy person. Otherwise, this virus will be able to spread. Virus can exist on all surfaces. Okay, it has a very hard coating. We cannot see viruses, but virus can survive. We come to chickenpox. What is chickenpox? Chickenpox is also a virus. It is transported through air or contact. If I touch a person who is having chickenpox, or I touch a person, or I am in close proximity with that person and he sneezes and he shouts or anything, I can get a chickenpox. Okay, chickenpox, there are a lot of poxes on the skin. Okay, how do we prevent chickenpox? We use vaccination at suitable age. So when you are an infant around 1 or 2, means chickenpox vaccination is given. All right, so that when you grow up, you do not get chickenpox. All right, and and even if there is someone close proximity to you having chickenpox, you will not get it. Okay, this is vaccination. We come to fourth, polio. Okay, I don't know, but you might have heard about polio. What happens in polio? Your lower half of the body stops working. All right, now polio is also a virus. Polio is caused by a virus. Okay, it is transported through air and water. Okay, so if there is the polio virus in your taps, you might get polio. If you get in contact with it through air, you might get it. But there was a lot of vaccination drive by the government in India. Okay, with Amitabh Bachchan as the brand ambassador. I remember polio shots were given to people, to children who were less than 5. Okay, and they were going to houses to give it to children so that polio cannot spread. So polio vaccination was given to children below 5. Okay, below the age of 5. So how do we prevent it? Vaccine. Polio shots means polio vaccine, and these vaccines were given to children of 0 to 5 years. They said take polio vaccine. Fifth one is cholera. Okay, cholera. Cholera is caused by bacteria. Okay, it is transported through water and food. So this bacteria present on your food, present in your water, will cause you cholera. Consume properly cooked food and boiled drinking water. So where does cholera exist? People who do not cook their food properly, okay, they can get cholera because bacteria has not died. If they consider water from unclean sources, from taps and not purified water, you can get cholera. Typhoid. What is typhoid? Typhoid is a bacteria, okay, which exists in water. It is transported through water. When someone does not have a lot of hygiene, he does not stay clean, he does not bath, okay, he does not cleanse himself properly, he can get typhoid. Okay, so to prevent it, you keep your personal hygiene. Now typhoid can happen through pot water, washroom water and all that. Okay, there are some disease causing in plant and animals as well. So like some microorganisms will cause a disease in plants and animals as well. Okay, so one of the diseases, anthrax. What is anthrax? Anthrax is a bacteria that is in cattle. Anthrax is a bacteria that is infecting cattle. So the name of the disease is anthrax, and it is transported by a bacteria. A bacteria. For example, there are cows. Okay, cows, their children, that is cattle, young cattle, they get a disease called anthrax. Okay, which is done through bacteria. Another disease is the foot and mouth disease. I will show you the pictures. Foot and mouth disease, what happens is you get a lot of poxes. In Hindi we call it dane, all the poxes on your hands, foot and mouth. Okay, so this is also done through a virus, and it is affecting cattle, not humans, animals, cows, cattle. Swine flu, the name swine means pig. Pig, so it affects pigs, swines. It is a virus, affects pigs. Bird flu, obviously as the name suggests, it affects birds. It is a disease among birds. When there is bird flu, we do not consume chicken. Alright, we do not eat chicken, because when there is news of bird flu amongst birds or chicken, we do not consume it because we can get the bird flu from them. So it is a virus, it is in birds. Citrus canker. What is citrus canker? Citrus canker is a bacteria that affects lemon. Citrus means affecting something that is citrus, that is tangy, like orange or lemon. Okay, citrus canker is the name of the disease given to lemon. What happens in lemon? And it is through a bacteria. Rust of wheat. Wheat develops a very rusty color. Okay, this is a fungus. This happens through a fungus, and this happens in wheat. So rust of wheat is by a fungus in wheat. Yellow vein mosaic of bhindi. So the leaves of the bhindi, the okra, the ladyfinger plant, will have veins that are yellow in color. Okay, and this is a virus that affects bhindi, okra. I'll show you pictures. So this is swine flu in pigs. This is rust of wheat. Alright, this is rust of wheat. You see this rusty color like in iron, but this is in wheat. This is through a fungus. Rust of wheat. This, you see yellow veins emerging on the green leaf. This would have been green, all green, but this is yellow. This is yellow vein mosaic in okra or bhindi in Hindi. Okay, this is the hand, foot and mouth disease. Hand, foot and mouth disease. This is the bird flu, which happens in chicken. Alright. Yeah, so now folks, now we come to food preservations. We studied about the various diseases and all through microorganisms, but how does microorganisms or any other disease causing thing stay away from our food? Alright, I don't want anything to infect my food. I don't want it to go stale. I don't want my food products to get damaged from microorganisms, from the weather, from anything. So microorganisms play a significant role in food spoilage. Since there is a lot of bacteria, a lot of things, they whatever food item you put them on, they will spoil it. Okay, we should not consume spoiled food. We can get diseases. All right, so bacteria spoils food. Fungus, if there is a mold on a bread, would you eat it? No. How do I protect that bread? Therefore, various methods of food preservation. What is food preservation? Preservation means keeping it safe. Okay, preserving it. Preservation. I keep it safe from microorganisms. Various methods of food preservation are employed to inhibit. Inhibit means stop their growth and prolong the shelf life. What is shelf life? That means in how much time I should consume it. So for example, shelf life of milk is 2 months, or that is quite long, 2-3 days, otherwise it will go stale. 2-3 days. Alright. So how do I extend that 2-3 days? I will do various measures to preserve that milk. Now, what are those various measures? We will study them in detail. First one is heating. Heating at high temperatures such as boiling or pasteurization can kill or inactive the microorganisms. So what happens is, whenever we bring milk to our house, we boil it. If it is pasteurized, pasteurized means it has been already heated to a very high temperature so that any microorganism, any bacteria, any fungus or anything disease causing inside that milk has been killed. Okay, very high temperature will kill that microorganism. Thus, we boil our waters. Alright, if you are out somewhere in the jungle, you will boil that water first before drinking it. Boil the milk, boil all the liquids that you should boil. Refrigeration. What is refrigeration? Means cooling. Put it in the fridge, right? Cold temperatures slow down the growth of microorganisms. So what happens is, whenever if you have a fridge at your home, you will see that when at night there is some leftover sabzi or any food item that your mom, she stores it inside the fridge. Alright, she will store that food inside the fridge, be it milk or anything. She will not let it out. Why? Because it will get spoiled if it is out. But in the fridge, what happens is, it is a very cold temperature. In a very cold temperature, microorganisms are not able to work. They are not able to synthesize all that food, make it stale, consume that food. So microorganisms will not work. It will stay protected from microorganisms. Cold temperatures slow down the growth of microorganisms. So for example, even if there is a little bit of bacteria in your food, okay, which mostly all foods do, if they are left out, the action of that microorganisms or bacteria will be very fast. Okay, but if it's in the cold temperature, they will not be able to act that fast. Okay, extending the freshness of food. Extending the freshness of food, so that it stays fresh for a longer time. I can consume it the next day or maybe 2 days after, because it has not gone stale. Alright. Now we come to freezing. What is freezing? Freezing food at low temperatures. Okay. Freezing the food at low temperatures, minus 18 degrees Celsius or below, halts microbial growth and preserves food for a longer duration. So whenever if you eat non-veg, okay, non-veg comes and is stored in the freezer. Even in big malls, when the fried items, all that could be fried, it is stored in the freezer. What does a freezer do? It freezes the food to a very low temperature, and in this temperature there is no chance that microorganisms will work. Okay, they may be present, but they will not be able to grow. Okay, so freezing. Now we come to canning. What is canning? The process of canning involves sealing food in airtight containers and heating them to destroy microorganisms. So what would happen is, I will can that food. I will show you how it looks. What does canning means? I will take a can. Okay, I will put some preservative inside it, some chemical that preserves it. I will put the food and I will shut the can tightly. Okay, the process of canning involves sealing of food. Whenever you bring achar or whenever you bring some canned good from the market, it is sealed and there is some vinegar or a preservative inside it. Okay, airtight. What does airtight means? There is no passing of air. It is sealed so that there is no entering of microorganisms. Okay, in airtight containers, and heating them to destroy microorganisms. So what happens is, if you bring a canned good, something to eat, okay, you open that can, you heat it, okay, what happens is there is no microorganism, it is a fully preserved food that you can eat. Canning. Now we come to drying. What is drying? Dehydrating food removes moisture. Moisture is required by microorganisms to grow. If there is no moisture, there is no water and air, it is difficult for microorganisms to survive and spoil the food. Okay, so if I have dried the food, so for example, whenever you go to places, tourist places, they serve some dry items, right, without moisture, that you can take home. Okay, so for example, some dry sweets, dry fruits and all that. If it is dry, there is no moisture present, it is very difficult for the microorganism to grow. Okay, it will not be able to grow. Thus, drying helps in food preservation. Now we come to preservation by salt. We can preserve things by putting salt inside them. Okay, common salt, that salt we put in sabzis and all. Okay, that salt is also very beneficial for preserving. See over here, this is some achar or lemon. Okay, it is put in a glass jar, it is, and salt is added. Okay, this will not let any bacteria grow. In presence of salt, no bacteria, no microorganism can grow. So common salt can be used to preserve meat and fish as well. Meat and fish, these are non-veg items, okay, and microorganisms tend to act faster on non-veg items. All right, how can we protect that non-veg, that meat and fish? We either freeze it, all right, or we put it in salt. What happens is, no microorganism will be able to act on it. Now, this technique of adding salt to meat and fish has been around for ages. It is being done for a very long time, from your grandfathers time. Okay, it is also done to preserve mangoes, lemons, amla, all these things. Preservation by oil and vinegar. So what does oil and vinegar do? Sometimes you see, you bring olives, okay, or any other food item in a can glass jar looking like this. It is stored in vinegar. Vinegar is an excellent preservative. You add anything to the vinegar, to a glass of vinegar, and it will be like, and shut it, otherwise it will dry out. Okay, put it in a glass container, put whatever you want to preserve, any food, you add vinegar to it and you shut the lid, it will be like that for ages, okay, for years. Use of oil and vinegar prevents spoilage of pickles. So when your mom is making achar, okay, achar is being, they use a glass jar, okay, in which they add all the lemons, the spices and whatnot to make sure, and they add vinegar to make sure that it does not go stale, it does not get spoiled by microorganisms, because bacteria cannot live in such an environment. So oil and vinegar are used as a preservative. Another preservation is by sugar. Okay, now you might be wondering, how sugar? Jams, jellies, squashes. See over here, these are jams, jellies and squashes. Whenever we go to Himachal Pradesh, they have their own jams. Okay, apricot jam, apple jam and all these things. Okay, how are they preserving it? They have no factories and all. They use sugar, salts, sugar. Sugar reduces moisture, it reduces the water content and prevents growth of bacteria. So what it does is, it prevents growth of bacteria, sugar. This is how we can preserve, right? Preserve. Another example, see over here, canning. They put it in a glass can, added vinegar and shut it tightly, okay, airtight, so that there is no air entering, vinegar won't evaporate, and this food stays as it is, okay, as it is. See achar, see over here, pickle, Acha, it is stored as a canned good, right? This is an example of freezing. What if you go into markets and all, this is how you get your those fried goodies which you fry later on, the meat, it is all freezed so that it does not get spoiled. No spoiling. Okay, now we come to another important topic, that is nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen fixation is the conversion of atmospheric nitrogen. I told you there is a lot of nitrogen present in the atmosphere, which is in the form of N2. Now, how do plants and all they utilize this nitrogen? Because it is very much fertile for our crops. All right, it is very beneficial for them. They can grow pretty faster. So, how nitrogen fixation is the conversion of this atmospheric nitrogen into a usable form using certain microorganisms. So, some bacteria, some microorganisms, what they do is they take this nitrogen and they convert it into some useful product. Useful for who? Useful for the plants. This process is vital for the nitrogen cycle. Like there's a life cycle, there's a water cycle, there is also a nitrogen cycle, and it plays a crucial role in maintaining soil fertility. To maintain soil fertility so that a lot of crops grow over that soil, we require the soil to be fertile. How do we make it fertile? By adding nitrogen. Nitrogen plays a very important role in fertility of the soil. Nitrogen fixing bacteria such as rhizobium live in the root nodules of leguminous plants. Okay, so it lives in the root nodules of leguminous plant. See over here, you see this white circular thing. Okay, this is called legumes. Okay, legumes. Some plants have these legumes. Okay, these circular white structures. Okay, inside these legumes there is rhizobium. What does this rhizobium do? It takes the nitrogen that is obtained from the atmosphere, it converts it into useful products. All right, useful products. They convert nitrogen into ammonia, okay, which can be utilized by plants for growth. So atmospheric nitrogen, this nitrogen, it goes into the soil. All right, it is absorbed, but it is taken into the leaves. Okay, this goes to the legumes of the plant, where rhizobium, it converts that nitrogen into simpler compounds so that it is very fertile for the plant. All right, this can be converted into ammonia. That nitrogen is converted into ammonia, okay, NH3, and it is used by plants to grow. All right, so this is called nitrogen fixation, usage of atmospheric nitrogen by bacteria, microorganisms like rhizobium in the root nodules of leguminous plants. Okay, this is converted into ammonia. This nitrogen is converted into ammonia and it is used by the plant for growth. Let's come to the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle is a series of processes by which nitrogen is converted and recycled. First, we have now understood nitrogen fixation. There is another thing called nitrification. Ammonia is converted into nitrites. Okay, nitrites means it is an ion, NO2 minus. Okay, NO2 minus, nitro oxide. Okay, nitrogen dioxide, and then into nitrates, NO3, by nitrifying bacteria. So ammonia, that was NH3, is converted into these forms as well to be utilized. Assimilation. Plants take up nitrates from the soil and incorporate nitrogen into their tissues. So these are nitrates, NO3, NO2, okay, and these are taken up by the plants through the roots, okay, they from the soil, and they incorporate this nitrogen into their tissues. Okay, this is put in their tissues which helps them grow. Ammonification. Decomposers such as bacteria and fungi, I told you what are decomposers, they degrade the dead and decaying matter. So bacteria and fungi, they break down organic matter, releasing ammonia back into the soil. So what was happening when fungus was growing, that mushroom was growing, that bacteria was acting on a dead animal? What are they doing? They are converting that dead matter, that body, into ammonia. Okay, what fungus and bacteria do, they convert that dead body into ammonia. Ammonia is again NH3, and this ammonia goes back to the soil. This soil is absorbed by plants to grow. So you see how the life works. That animal has died, his body is converted into ammonia, that ammonia is absorbed by the soil. That's ammonia goes from that soil to plants, and those plants grow, they give fruits, and life continues. Okay. Denitrification. Denitrification bacteria converts nitrates back into atmospheric nitrogen, completing the cycle. So since it was converted from atmospheric nitrogen to plants for animals to use, it is again sent off at the end. Plants release that nitrogen to the atmosphere. So a complete cycle has been formed. Okay, it started from A, nitrogen fixation, then it went to B, then it went to C, then we go to D, then again we go to E, again to A. This is how nitrogen cycle works. This is one of the last and important topics, that is food poisoning. Okay, so now we know why do we need to preserve food and all, but what will happen if we don't preserve that food and we consider eating something that has microorganisms in it? So one thing would happen was food poisoning. Food poisoning, it is due to the consumption of food spoiled by some microorganisms. So a microorganism will act on the food. It will make a lot of diseases. It will grow in number on that food. If I eat that food, I will be sick. Okay, I will get symptoms like vomiting. See, like this, I will feel like vomiting. I will have a lot of fever. Okay, you see over here, fever. I will get diarrhea. I will get a headache. I will get vomiting. I will feel a lot of pain in my stomach. This is food poisoning. That is why your mothers and parents, they advise you not to eat outside, because at home the food is clean. All right, we know how it is made, if the products were stored in a food preservative environment or not. But outside we never know, that commercial places, how they are preparing their food. Are their hands clean or not? Are they using proper preserved items which are not stale, which have not been used, or they are not spoiled? Okay, outside food is considered to be spoiled. It can cause you food poisoning. Okay, that is why it is said to eat at home, mostly caused by bacteria like salmonella. I told you salmonella is a disease causing bacteria, and fungus like aspergillus. So these two cause food poisoning. All right, you can see food poisoning. All right, so that will be enough for today. Hope you enjoyed the lecture. Thank you.